Hello and welcome to the UPSC Mains PYQ series. In this live series, we are discussing all the GS Mains questions asked by UPSC over the past years. So till now, we have discussed GS GS Paper 1 2024, GS Paper 1 question number 1 to 5 in yesterday's session. In this session, in today's class, we will be discussing about question 6 to question 10 of the 2024 GS Paper 1. Now, this question number 6 states that what is the phenomenon of cloudbursts? Explain. A 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, it is a direct question asked from the subject of geography, and this topic is the important geophysical phenomena. And what is the geophysical phenomena? It is talking about cloudbursts. Okay. So cloudbursts are very frequent, especially in the monsoon months, as recently we have seen the disaster unfolding in the state of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Now, the approach that we'll be taking, because it is a very direct question. Okay. So in introduction, we will define what a cloudburst is. Then in the body, we'll write the mechanism and the causes of the cloudburst and write the effects. Okay. Because the question is asking explain. So in explain, we have to cover almost all the aspects. That is the definition, the mechanism, the causes, as well as the effects. Then in conclusion, we summarize and link it to the mitigation, because any of these natural phenomena or disaster-based questions, if they are asked, it is a good practice that you conclude it with by linking it to the mitigation. Now, starting the introduction, a cloudburst is an extreme weather event characterized by sudden intense rainfall over a small localized area in a very short period. And it often leads to flash floods and landslides. Okay. So in this introduction, we have described or we have defined what a cloudburst is. So it is an extreme weather event. Okay. First thing, it is an extreme weather event. Second is the characteristics of this extreme weather event. That is sudden and intense rainfall over a small and localized area. And the time period is, so the area is limited, the area is small, the time period is short, and the sudden and intense rainfall. Okay. And what it leads to, floods, the flash floods, and the landslides. Second is the mechanism and causes. Like what causes these cloudbursts? So you can make a diagram like this, that moist air encounters a mountain or hill and is forced to rise. So a warm sea breeze having moisture rich air is moving towards the mountain, and encounters the mountain and is forced to rise up. Okay, the air is forced to rise up. The rising air cools and condenses, and it condenses. So the rising air is the warm air. When it goes above, it cools and it condenses to form the clouds. So cloud formation is taking place. Then there is violent upward flow of air prevents the condensing raindrops from falling to the ground. Okay, because the rising air current is too much. That is why it is preventing the rainfall. But because of the lack of the upward air prevents the dissipation of moisture. When this upward air flow, it weakens, then there is precipitation. Whole of the stored water falls at one time. It's just like if someone has opened the tap. Okay, then the steep slope causes the flash flood. So firstly, the warm air is rising up, then it is cooling down and it is forming the clouds. Now clouds, the precipitation is not taking place because the air that is moving upward, it is very strong, the current is very strong, and it is preventing any of the water from falling or the condensing air from falling. But when the upward current, the upward flow of air, it weakens, then all of the water at a sudden, it comes rolling down from the cloud, and it causes the flash floods because of the steep slopes. Okay. So mechanism is the first, rapid upward movement. Second is the condensation and accumulation. Then it is the sudden downpour, and the common regions we have to also talk about. The cloudbursts are frequent in India's hilly states, as we have seen recently in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir, especially during the southwest monsoon. So especially in the monsoon months, The hilly states, especially Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Ladakh, and Jammu and Kashmir, they are very vulnerable to cloudbursts. Then the effect of cloudbursts is the flash floods and the landslides. The sudden deluge can cause devastating flash floods and landslides and cause significant loss to life and property. And it is very difficult to predict. Cloudbursts are difficult to predict due to their abrupt and localized nature. Okay, so cloudbursts are a very highly localized event, and it is very difficult to predict it. Okay, then in conclusion, we can write about cloudbursts are hazardous, short duration rainfall events that pose serious risks, especially in the mountainous regions, and improved forecast. So this is our summarizing line. Okay. Then improving forecast and preparedness are essential to mitigate their destructive impacts. The second line, in the second line of conclusion, we are talking about the mitigation. Moving on to the next question, that is 2024 GS paper 1, question number 7. What is the concept of demographic winter? Is the world moving towards such a situation? Elaborate. A 10-mark question that has to be answered in 150 words. And mapping it with the syllabus, it has been asked from the subject of society, and the topic is population and its associated issues. And it is directly asking about what is a demographic winter, and we have to elaborate whether the world is moving towards a demographic winter or not. Then in introduction, because it is a direct question, it is talking about demographic winter. So in introduction, we will be describing the demographic winter. Then in body, we write the key features of a demographic winter, because we have to elaborate whether the world is moving towards a demographic winter. So before that, we have to mention, or we have to highlight what are the key features of a demographic winter. Then only we can make a guess, or we can conclude that is the world moving towards the demographic winter. And then we write a conclusion that is forward looking conclusion. Okay, a way forward or a forward looking conclusion. Now, starting with the demographic winter, the definition, demographic winter, it refers to a situation where the birth rates fall significantly below the replacement level. That is 2.1 children per woman. So, the total fertility rate. The total fertility rate is the number of children average women she bears in her lifetime. So, the replacement level of total fertility rate should be 2.1. That means in order to for a population, so suppose India's population is 150 crores. So for that population to remain stable, each and every woman in the country during her lifetime, she should be having 2.1 kids. That is 21 out of for every 10 women should be having at least 21 kids. Okay. So that is why, because of that, we will be able to sustain or maintain our population. Okay. But nowadays, it has been seen that many of the states in India and also across the countries, especially the Western world, there is a situation of demographic winter in which the birth rates are falling significantly below the replacement level, that is 2.1 children. And it is resulting in an aging population, a shrinking workforce, and associated economic and social challenges. So we have described what a demographic winter is and its results. Then we write the key features of a demographic winter. That is declining birth rates. Many developed countries such as Japan, Italy, South Korea have fertility rates well below the replacement level, leading to a stagnant or shrinking population. Then the aging population. Second feature is the aging population. The proportion of elderly individuals in the population, they rise, increasing the dependency ratio and straining the healthcare and pension system. Because the aging population, they cannot work, so they are dependent on the working population. That is from the age group of 15 to 59 years is the working age population. And it has severe economic implications because a smaller workforce can result in slower economic growth, labor shortages, as well as greater tax burdens on the younger generations. Then we have to discuss whether the world is moving towards a demographic winter. So we have to talk about developed regions, the developing regions, and a total global outlook. So developed regions, especially Europe, East Asia, and North America, are already experiencing the are already experienced or are approaching the demographic winter with persistent low birth rates and aging population. And we can give the examples of Japan, South Korea, Italy. So these are the countries that are facing this demographic winter. Then we talk about developing regions. Many African and South Asian countries still have high fertility rates, but the trends indicate that the declining birth rates are spreading globally. So even though the developing regions of in Africa and in South Asia, in these regions, the total fertility rate is higher, but the trends are indicating a declining birth rates and which is spreading globally. Okay. Even though these areas have a high fertility rates, but the trend has been that the fertility rates in these areas is going down. Last is the global outlook. The world is witnessing uneven demographic trends, but the risk of demographic winter is increasing, especially in advanced economies. Then in conclusion, we write the demographic winter poses significant long-term challenges. Proactive policies, because we have to talk about a forward-looking conclusion. So we will be writing proactive policies such as supporting families, encouraging immigration, and promoting active aging are essential to mitigate its impact and ensure sustainable societal development. In the previous question, also we have, in conclusion, we have talked about the mitigation measures. And in this also the demographic winter, because these are concerning situations. A cloudburst is a concerning situation. A demographic winter is a concerning situation. So in such a questions, in answer, we have to, in the conclusion of answer, we have to give the mitigation steps. Moving on to the next question, that is question 8 of 2024 GS paper 1. Distinguish between gender equality, gender equity, and women's empowerment. Why is it important to take gender concerns into account in program design and implementation? A 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of society, role of women and women organization, women's problems and their remedies. Okay. Now, this question is asking us to distinguish between gender equality, gender equity, and women empowerment. Okay. So discussing the approach. So in introduction, we introduce the answer. In the body, we tabulate the key distinctions because it is asking us to distinguish or it is asking us to compare. And when such a comparison or distinction has to be made, then the best approach is to make a table in the tabular form. Then we have to write the importance in program design and implementation. And that is the exact demand of question. So in body, we address the demand of the question. And then in conclusion, we write a forward-looking conclusion. Now, gender equality, gender equity, and women's empowerment are interconnected but distinct concepts central to achieving just and inclusive society. So, just a simple introductory line because we have to write a lot in the body. So, we will be saving some of the words in the introduction. The introduction will be very crisp and very short. Then we have to differentiate between what is a gender equality, gender equity, and women's empowerment. So, gender equality refers to the equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities for all genders. So, all genders should be having equal rights, should be having equal opportunities, and should be having equal responsibility. So, that is the gender equality. Now, gender equity, it focuses on fairness by recognizing different needs and disadvantage faced by the genders. So, we can say that gender equity is more positive concept as compared to gender equality. Women's empowerment, on the other hand, it involves the enhancing women's agency, decision-making power, and access to resources. So women's decision-making, enhancing a women's decision-making powers and her access to resources caters to the women empowerment. Then gender equality emphasizes treating men and women in the same areas, like same in areas like education, employment, and decision making. So in all the sectors, in all the fields, the men and women should be treated same or alike. So that is the concept of gender equality. Gender equity, on the other hand, involves providing differentiated resources or support to achieve equal outcomes such as maternity leaves and reserved seats for women. Okay, so it involves differentiated resources or support to achieve equal outcomes. Okay, then in women empowerment, it aims to help women gain control over their lives and participate fully in the society by improving the women's, by enhancing the women's decision making power and her access to resources. What we are ultimately aiming is to help the women gain control over their lives and participate fully in the society. Now, importance in program design and implementation addresses structural inequalities. Tackling gender concerns help to dismantle systemic barriers and ensures fair access to the resources. Second is the improves outcomes. So gender sensitive programs lead to better development results and social justice. Third is the promotes inclusiveness. So having the having the gender equality and gender related policies, it ensures that both when men and women benefit equitably, preventing the marginalization. Our approach should be, if we are talking about women empowerment, the approach should not be that men should be left behind. We have to take both men, women, and the transgenders equally so that all of them they grow equally, they get the benefits are shared equitably, and no one faces marginalization. Then, in conclusion, we write considering gender concerns in program design is crucial for achieving true equality, fairness, and empowerment, ultimately fostering a sustainable and inclusive development. This is our forward looking conclusion. Because we have written a very crisp introduction and conclusion in the answer, because the body it contains a lot of words and we have to respect the word limit that is given in the question paper. Moving on to the next question, that is question 9. Intercaste marriages between castes which have socio-economic parity have increased to some extent, but this is less true for interreligious marriages. Discuss. A 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of society, and the topic is salient features of Indian society, and it is asking about the intercaste marriages. So, the approach that will be take in introduction, we will be introducing the answer. We will write a relevant introduction. In body, we write the trends in intercaste marriages and the limited rise in the interreligious marriages, because the question is demanding us two things. We have to give the we have to support the fact that intercaste marriages are on a rise up to a certain extent, but we have to also discuss why there is a limited rise in the interreligious marriages. Then, in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer. Now, writing the introduction, intercaste marriages, especially between castes with similar socio-economic status. So, socio-economic status, that means like higher castes in like in agrarian castes. So there is a rise of intercaste marriages. They have seen a moderate rise in India. The rise is there, but it is moderate, not very steep, while the interreligious marriages remain rare and socially contentious. So, in a way, we have just talked about the introduction, and in introduction, we have to write that what the examiner might find in the answer. So, in a way, in introduction, we tell the examiner what we have written in the body, and then in body, we write the answer, and then in conclusion, we again remind the examiner that what we have actually written in the answer. Then the trends in intercaste marriages, socio-economic parity, increased education, urbanization, and economic independence. All these three factors, increased education, increased urbanization, and economic independence, have enabled individuals from different castes but similar socio-economic backgrounds to interact and marry more frequently. Then is the changing attitudes. Families now prioritize economic stability and compatibility over caste, especially in the urban areas. So this practice of increase in intercaste marriages is more found in the urban landscape as compared to the rural areas. or the rural landscape, because in the urban areas, the people are somewhat more educated, more urbanized, more economic independent, and they prioritize economic stability and compatibility with their partners over the things such as castes. Then we have to provide statistics. About 10% of Indian marriages are intercaste, with higher rates in progressive states like Punjab and Kerala. Because in Punjab, the socio-economic status among castes is that most of them are agrarian, and Kerala, there is increased education. Then the limited rise in the interreligious marriages. Even though the intercaste marriages are on a rise, but the interreligious marriages, there is a very limited rise because of the strong religious boundaries. In India, we have deep-rooted religious identities, customs, community pressures act as a significant deterrence. Okay. Then social and legal barriers. Inter-religious couples, they face greater risk of social exclusion as compared to the intercaste couples, and honor crimes, legal hurdles, especially under the Special Marriage Act. Okay. So there are both social, societal as well as legal barriers. Then we also have to provide statistics. Only about 2% of marriages in India are interreligious, reflecting persistent resistance. Then in conclusion, we write, while socio-economic development has fostered some acceptance of intercaste marriages, interreligious unions remain constrained but by stronger cultural, social, and legal barriers. So there are stronger religious or cultural barriers, strong societal barriers, and strong legal barriers, which highlight the enduring influence of religion in the Indian society. So the limited rise of interreligious marriages, it reflects the influence of religion, like what major impact the religion is playing in the Indian society. Then moving on to the final question, that is question 10 of 2024 GS Studies Paper 1. In dealing with socio-economic issues of development, what kind of collaboration between government, NGOs, and private sector would be most productive? A simple 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Mapping it with with the syllabus, it has been asked from the subject of society, that is poverty and development issues. So this question is talking about the socio-economic issues of development. Okay, how we are going to deal with these socio-economic issues of development, and what kind of collaboration between government, the civic society or the NGOs, and the private sector would be most productive. So the approach that we'll be taking is, we have to introduce the answer. We'll write an introductory line. Then we'll write a linking line and link the introduction to the body. Then in body, we actually write the key features of effective collaboration, like what will be the key features of such an effective collaboration between the government, the civic society or the NGOs, and the private sector. Then in conclusion, we summarize the answer and write about the significance of the synergy between these three stakeholders, that is government, NGOs, as well as private sector. Now, in introduction, we write, addressing social economic issues like poverty, inequality, and unemployment requires. So here we have highlighted the social economic issues. Okay, social economic issues such as poverty, which is a social economic issue, inequality, and unemployment. So these three are the major social economic issues in the country, and it requires a multi-stakeholder approach. The most productive collaboration leverages the unique strengths of government, NGOs, and the private sector for the holistic and sustainable development. So this is the uh, linking line. Okay, the most productive collaboration between the government, the civic society, the civil society, and the private sector. It leverages the unique strength of government, NGOs, and the private sector. So all these three sectors, that is government, NGOs, and private sector, they have their own strengths and they have their own limitations. And all of these, they have to collaborate productively in order to achieve the holistic and sustainable development. Then what will be the key features of such an effective partnership? First is the public-private partnerships. Government provides the policy framework, government will provide the funding and the regulatory oversight. So that is the role of government. Private sector will bring the investment, innovation and efficiency. Examples, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana for affordable housing, where private developers and NGOs work together with government support. Second is the involvement of NGOs. So NGOs, they ensure grassroots reach. So the strength of NGOs is that they have the grassroots reach. They can engage with the community and the tailored solutions for the marginalized groups. They implement pilot projects, the NGOs, they build local capacities and provide feedback for the policy improvement. Okay. So government makes policies, government provide funding and the regulation as their and the regulatory oversight. The private sector gives investment, it gives provides innovation and efficiency, and the NGOs, they leverage their grassroots reach. Okay. Finally, we have the resource pooling and joint implementation. Combining financial resources, the technical expertise, and the local knowledge enhances the impact of development programs. So, financial resources is given by the government, technical expertise can be provided by the private sector, and the local knowledge is provided by the NGOs because they are at the grassroots level. So, example, the skill development initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana involve all these three sectors. That is the government sector, the private sector, as well as the NGOs. Now, in conclusion, the most productive collaboration is the one where government sets the vision and policy. Okay, NGOs connect with communities, and the private sector drives innovation and investment. So we have three aspects of this collaboration. Government sets the vision, government frames the policy, the NGOs, it connects with the communities at the grassroots level, and the private sector drives innovation, it provides investment and drives innovation. Such a synergy ensures inclusive, scalable, and sustainable solutions to the complex socio-economic challenges. So this is the significance. The ending line is the line of significance because this synergy will ensure inclusive, scalable, and sustainable solutions to complex socio-economic challenges, challenges such as poverty, inequality, and unemployment. So the PDF of these model answers will be available to you on Shikara Academy's Telegram channel and WhatsApp channel. Thank you and happy